Chapter 36. Sacrifices Made. Angelique, feeling the pulse of urgency in her veins, navigated the subterranean passages swiftly, her mind swirling with images of the devastated supply convoy. The high-stakes mission, aided by the destructive power of their unconventional explosives, had temporarily severed the enemy's lifeline, buying them some time. But time was a luxury they could scarcely afford. Upon reaching the headquarters in Jefferson City, she was met with unexpected presences. Adams and Natasha, clandestine agents who were bearers of dire and crucial intelligence. The air in the HQ was charged with tension, a manifestation of the critical junctures at which they all stood. The unfolding revel of the Pacific War, the state of the Navy, and the pivotal chip program solution were rapidly laid out before her, each piece of information like a gear in the vast machine of war. Ivory then stepped forward, sharing her insights on the escalating conflict. Angelique absorbed the revelations, each new detail drawing a clearer picture of the looming crisis. It became overwhelmingly clear that reaching President Jackson was an absolute necessity. Every second that passed was a moment of uncertainty, and every shared piece of intel illuminated the obscure and intricate pathways of the global turmoil. Meeting President Jackson was a critical juncture, a point where destinies would intersect, potentially altering the trajectory of not only their lives, but the future of the world. With a sense of responsibility weighing heavily on their shoulders, they prepared for the journey ahead. The mood was dense with the weight of impending conflict and memories of battles past. Ivory's eyes were a storm of sorrow as she equipped herself for their journey ahead. Tank, a constant and formidable presence beside Ivory, since the heart-wrenching loss of her husband Jared to a UN soldier's bullet, also meticulously preparing gear. It was in this moment of charged silence that Shaw, the embodiment of resilience, limped into the room, his voice full of grit and restrained agony. "When do we move out?" The traces of his recent near-death experience were still vivid. The paleness of his skin reflected the pain from the bullet wound to his chest. Ivory, her eyes reflecting a combination of concern, attempted to dissuade him from rejoining the fight so soon. "You're in no shape for this, Shaw. We may not even make it through the front lines," she argued, her voice laced with the rawness of reality. Shaw's response was unwavering and adamant. "It will be harder if you make me walk there." Stubbornness radiated from his eyes as he armed himself, his hands gripping the weapon as if it were a lifeline. He grabbed a bottle of ibuprofen, a modest attempt to keep the pain at bay during the upcoming ordeal. Ivory, watching his steadfast preparations, couldn't help but comment, "You're one tough soul, Shaw." Her words were a testament to his relentless spirit, a spirit that had become strength in these apocalyptic times. Angelique, her stance firm, relayed her orders to Colonel Chapman. "I'm entrusting you with the command of UCM headquarters. Keep the fight alive, no matter the cost." Chapman's face tightened with signs of respect and protest. "You shouldn't be leaving, Angelique. We need you here to lead." Her gaze met his, a fire burning within her eyes. "Chapman, no one, and I mean no one, will keep me from this fight. This mission," she paused, emphasizing each word, "could be the turning point of this war." Chapman, seeing the relentless determination in Angelique's eyes, finally nodded, his own resolve hardening. "We won't let you down. We will hold the line here." A sense of mutual understanding lingered between them as they exchanged final salutes, and Angelique left the room wondering if, for the last time. Navigating through remnants of the past, the group reached a river port, the very site where the initial UCM assault was deployed what seemed like an eternity ago. The turbulent currents of the Missouri River now served as their secret passage, a swift route to the front lines. They knew Sam Crawford and the RAA had established their positions near St. Albans, and the river was their quickest path. Angelique, Adams, Natasha, Katie, Shaw, Ivory, and Tank, each laden with the resolve to fight, embarked on a vessel. This ship, once a symbol of luxury and leisure, was now a mere husk, repurposed for delivering supplies to the troops battling relentlessly at the front lines. The journey provided them a precious, fleeting moment of respite. Each member of the group seized this opportunity to rest and reinvigorate themselves. They were well aware that once they plunged themselves into the chaotic dance of battle, rest would be a long-lost luxury, forgotten within the gunfire and explosions of war. Their hearts were weighed down with the knowledge of the coming storm, yet the flame of the American spirit burned ever brightly within them. They fortified themselves, mentally and physically, preparing for the inevitable clash that would determine the fate of their world. The quiet hum of the ship slicing through the waters and subdued murmurs of preparation were the only sounds that accompanied them, a transient peace before the storm of war would engulf them once more. Ivory, her fingers poised over the controls, initiated a radio transmission, the static crackle cutting through the heavy air like a knife. Ivory. Come in, Silent Knight. This is Ivory Hecker. Do you copy? Over. A moment of tense silence broken by the raspy reception of a reply. Silent Knight, Robert. This is Silent Knight. Read you Lima Charlie Ivory Hecker. Over. Ivory. Silent Knight. We require immediate pickup at Landing Zone 1. Estimated time of arrival 0100 hours. Can you accommodate? Over. The airwaves carried the tense pause, the silence punctuated by the hiss of static. Silent Knight. Ivory Hecker, be advised, the LZ is hot. Repeat, Landing Zone 1 is hot. It's a gauntlet down there. Over. Ivory. Acknowledged, Silent Knight. The situation is critical. Extraction at Landing Zone. 10100 hours is imperative. Can we count on you? Over. Another pause filled with anticipation and tension, and then the decisive reply came through. Silent Knight. Ivory Hecker, understood. It's treacherous, but I'll be there. 0100 hours, Landing Zone 1. Over. Ivory. Confirmed, Silent Knight. See you at 0100 hours. Stay safe. Over and out. The transmission concluded, leaving the cabin enveloped in tense silence, every mind occupied with the perilous journey ahead. Miles from their intended destination of Landing Zone 1, the sight that awaited them on the front deck was staggering. The team observed the battle for St. Louis from their vantage point on the river. The entire horizon seemed ablaze, the sky painted with intermittent bursts of light and trails of tracer fire. Every flash was a reminder of the relentless conflict that had consumed the city. The gentle sway of the river beneath their feet stood in stark contrast to the fiery onslaught that loomed ahead. The once tranquil waters now carried them towards an unimaginable maelstrom. Angelique's gaze pierced the turbulent scene, the intensity of her focus evident. She turned to the others, her voice steady amidst the distant nightmare. We're about to step into that storm. We must stay alert and protect each other at all costs. Each member of the group, though consumed by their own concerns, nodded in agreement. Their faces, intermittently lit by the distant flashes, displayed that of awe and grit. The overwhelming intensity of the scene ahead was a sobering reminder of the challenges that awaited them in the heart of the city. The group braced themselves, ready to face the fray and play their part in the fight. With them and their gear unloaded, in the dead of night, the group huddled at Landing 1. The horizon a canvas of chaos, draped in sporadic flashes and the fiery trails of tracer fire. The air buzzed with the sounds of conflict, overlaying the rhythmic movement of the Missouri River. Every eye was glued to their surroundings, searching for the arrival of Robert's swift boat. The distant roar of battle blended with the lapping of water against the riverbank. Each minute felt stretched, the anticipation building, the tension building. Finally, a boat emerged from the darkness, the silhouette marked with a chaotic pattern of bullet holes and shrapnel damage, a testament to countless skirmishes. The engine roared in defiance, and despite its battered appearance, the boat advanced rapidly, undeterred by its wounds. Robert navigated the boat to the shore with practiced ease, his face bearing the strain of relentless combat. He greeted the group with a nod, his eyes surveying each member quickly before flicking back to the volatile surroundings. "Sorry for the state of the boat." Robert's voice was rough, overshadowed by the growl of the engine. "She's seen better days, but she's still got fight in her. We've been through worse together." The group clambered aboard swiftly, in awe of the damage. The damaged boat seemed to hum with energy, as if willing itself to endure and face the battle once more, while they settled in for the ride. Robert revved the engine. The boat cut through the water with remarkable agility. The murmurs of conversation arose, each member exchanging glances, absorbing the boat's damage. The sight of the scarred vessel was a harrowing reminder of their struggle. Robert noticed their gaze. A wry smile touched his lips. "If you think this is bad, you should have seen the time we had to fish a live mortar round out of a 55-gallon drum before we could refuel." The smile faded, replaced by a faraway look, a memory of a moment teetering on the edge of disaster. "Every day's a gamble. Every mission is dancing with the devil." The boat raced through the water, every member braced, thoughts shadowed by the approaching gauntlet of death ahead, the scars of the boat serving as a silent harbinger of what lay before them. Yet, amidst the remnants of battles past, they stood ready to face the inferno ahead. The river, a liquid silver pathway under the moon's glare, carried the battered swift boat and its band of warriors through the night. The ambience of foreboding silence was like the calm before a storm. The atmosphere held a heavy, acrid scent of smoke, backed by the distant rumblings of warfare. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by the chopping sounds of rotor blades slicing through the air. The ominous silhouette of a Chinese attack helicopter emerged from the blackness, its presence spelling a sudden, amplified threat. The sharp, venomous hiss of rockets pierced the night, missing the boat and striking the river instead, sending a torrent of water raining down upon the group. Drenched, Robert reacted swiftly, his face steely, his movement fluid, pulled out a Stinger missile launcher. A tense silence wrapped around them as he aimed, each eager for Robert to fire before the chopper did once more, every muscle taut, every breath held. With calculated precision, he fired. The missile cut through the night, a fiery avenger seeking its target. The impact was instantaneous, the night illuminated with a brilliant, searing light as the helicopter erupted into a flaming inferno, transforming into a fiery comet plummeting earthwards. The brilliance faded, leaving the night to claim dominate the light once more. The silence that followed was punctuated by distant groans of battle and the purr of the boat's enduring engine. Every eye turned to Robert, a medley of gratitude and respect flashing through them. Robert, meeting their gaze with a nod, merely gripped the wheel tighter, his eyes on the river ahead. Angelique's eyebrows lifted in curiosity at Robert's actions. "Where did you get that?" Robert's face broke into a grin, Spare's light of the night dancing in his eyes. "We got all kinds of new toys from Jackson," he declared, a note of elation in his voice. Angelique's mind raced. This was her first opportunity to speak to Robert, to inform him of Sierra's plight. "Robert, Sierra was captured. She's in that chaos being unleashed." A chuckle escaped Robert, and a smirk played on his lips. "Not anymore. I got her out of there just a few days ago." His smirk faded, replaced by a hint of concern. "Then she went back with her group to gather intel for Jackson and the army. We've been sneaking troops and supplies over for days now." Angelique's face reflected a myriad of emotions, but mostly that of relief and worry. The knowledge of Sierra's captivity and her return to the conflict brought a churn of unrest in her soul. The journey, underscored by the whispers of the flowing river and the distant sounds of battle, felt heavy, with thoughts of her own love, Karnak, being among the machine of death that is St. Louis, as the boat continued to cut through the waters towards dangers lurking in the dark. A sudden eruption of gunfire enveloped the boat, shattering the tense silence of the night. The surprise attack had every member on board ducking, bodies pressed tight against the floor, hearts racing as the metallic clang of bullets colliding with the boat created rings in their ears. Robert's hands gripped the wheel, steering with expert precision to evade the relentless onslaught. The boat's engine roared in protest, mingling with splashes of the turbulent waters and the persistent peppering of bullets as the unseen adversary remained hidden within the darkness of the night. Angelique's gaze scanned the murky surroundings, the grip on her weapon tight, eyes straining to pinpoint the origin of the gunfire. The attackers remain unseen, their positions concealed in the blanket of the night, unrelenting in their assault. The faces around her are marked with a shared grit, a common steadfastness to defeat this invisible foe and proceed with their perilous journey through the winding river. The battle continued as the boat powered forward, their spirit unbroken by the surrounding chaos. In the faint illumination of a city engulfed in flames, Angelique witnessed the heart-wrenching sight of Ivory and Tank succumbing to the chaos, collapsing to the deck. Tank's body seemed to encircle Ivory, a fortress of flesh intending to shield her from the relentless enemy. In flickering light of a city ablaze, a gut-wrenching sight unfolded before Angelique. Ivory and Tank were collapsing, a protective human shield formed by Tank enveloping Ivory, seemingly trying to guard her from the unseen assailant. Every member of the team remained hunched, the roar of the 16-cylinder engine propelling them from the Missouri River across the Mississippi to a distant canal. When they reached the bank, Angelique and Katie hastened to their companion's side, a sense of emergency fueling their steps. They carefully maneuvered Tank's lifeless body, revealing a clinging Ivory, her grip steadfast around his neck, her being drenched in the stark reality of blood, signaling Tank's demise. It wasn't long before Shaw, with swift yet soft movements, untangled Ivory from her fallen protector. A storm of sorrow brewed in her eyes, but not a single tear broke free. Knowing Tank as she did, he would have preferred her strength, her anger, her vengeance over her tears. Ivory's spirit, toughened by countless battles and losses, had built walls around her heart. She bestowed a final lingering kiss upon Tank, a silent adieu. She reached up, removing a fragile flower in her hair, a reminiscence of a momentary solace given to her by Tank the day before, gently nestling it in his unmoving hands. The next sound was jarring as the abrupt fall of Katie disrupted the tense moment of Tank's death, the resonating thud of her body meeting the deck, diverting all eyes toward her. "No!" A pained scream tore from Angelique's throat, her heart pounding erratically in her chest, dread consuming her every fiber. Rushing to Katie's side, she was met with the distressing sight of her clenching her stomach, the crimson life force profusely spilling through her fingers, seemingly with a will of its own. Katie's face held an eerily calm demeanor, her voice unsteady yet casual as she looked into Angelique's eyes. "I didn't even realize." Frantically, Angelique sifted through a medic kit for bandages, barking orders in despair. But the encroaching truth sank in, whispering the reality that moments were fleeting. Embracing this heart-wrenching realization, Angelique regained her composure, locking eyes with Katie. Her final breath was entrusted with a resonating command: "Burn it down."